It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL for some more top-tier action on the PlayStation platform. We've had 6 scintillating rounds already. What does round 7 have in store in the Styrian Mountains? We are at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. No Lederhosen, thankfully, to be seen here tonight, though. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the commentary box is Mark Alimonda. Mark, how are you doing?
Well, the idea of you in Lederhosen, Luke, is nightmare fuel, to be frank, but I'm doing very well. Round 7 of the season, what a season it's been so far, Luke. I just, so many different drivers on the podium, but certainly from what we've seen in the championship so far, this is looking a bit of a Red Bull civil war out there tonight, given the top 2 in the constructors at the moment.
Yeah, Red Bull and AlphaTauri looking very good in the constructors, looking very good in the drivers, and you might remember it was 2 of their drivers battling tooth and nail at Silverstone last time around with Joost and Blizzard. In the end, though, Joost took the victory, a 3rd victory for the Dutchman this season. Still the only driver to have multiple wins so far this season, extending his lead in the championship now over Blizzard to 12 points. Duncan is 3rd in the championship. You've got Georges and Midnight a bit further behind, and we're seeing Casper. He's making a reappearance again back in the top 10 of the championship. He got his best result of the season last time out with a 4th place. And what that means for the Constructors' Championship, unsurprisingly, 2 AlphaTauri drivers in the top 5. They are leading the Constructors' Championship still. 8 points at the moment over the senior team, the Red Bull team. Mercedes just a further 8 points behind. You've still got some other teams looking good. Alfa Romeo, McLaren, who do have a new full-time driver tonight. Suso has left the lead, and Jordan, the driver who won here last season and has won a race so far this year, he is now full-time, so one to watch out for. And then Alpine, Haas, Ferrari, Williams, very close in the bottom of the championship. Aston Martin, though, 11 points, finding themselves rooted at the bottom. And like you said, it has been a bit of an an AlphaTauri Red Bull dominance so far this season. Those teams have won 5 out of the 6 races so far. Jordan reserving in an Alpine, the only different driver from outside those teams to take a victory. But it's not like they've had that massive consistency. We're still seeing loads of different drivers get to a podium. I think you said it yourself, Mark. We're now on 11 drivers who've had a podium so far this season. Extremely close.
Yes. Looking at the top 6, we discussed this going into the season. We expected to see a lot of presence of VSR and CRG drivers, and that's exactly what we've seen. The top 6 all filled by CRG or VSR drivers. They've really made their presence felt so far this season. Just to mention Suso, just sort of pulled out of the British Grand Prix, had enough, it seemed, after a disappointing start to the campaign. But Jordan, 100% deserving of his full-time seat. He's been really good, strong at times this season, particularly Spa, where he won in brilliant fashion. Seemed to really be a master of that particular circuit. But yeah, looking at the constructors, it seems like they're starting to break away the top 3 teams from the rest in terms of getting those results, because there's quite a gap now between 3rd to 4th. So it's looking like a 3-horse championship in that one. And in terms of the drivers, I think Duncan is still definitely in touch with the top 2. But yeah, Juice and Blizzard, I think on balance from the first 6 rounds so far, have been, overall the class of the field.
Yeah, are we saying, it's probably a bit too early to say this, but Joost and Blizzard, like you said, class of the field, too early to say this is looking like a 2-horse race of the championship? Or do you see others like Duncan, or Georges as well? He's had a couple of podiums. Obviously, there's Midnight, and now maybe Jordan's a full-time driver. Do you still reckon all of those drivers still have a realistic chance of taking this championship at the end of the season?
Yes, I mean, we're not even halfway through the campaign yet. We're pretty much at the halfway stage after tonight. But I think by the end of Portimao, which will be a unique challenge for a lot of these drivers, it'll be the first league race in PSGL history at Portugal. I think after Portugal, we'll know with 4 rounds to go who the clear title contenders are by that stage. That's my view on it.
Yeah, definitely. And there has been a slight update to the championship and the order that the season is happening in, which we'll go through very quickly for all you guys and girls watching at home. You can see we've now got races over the next 4 weeks, including tonight. So Austria, China, Portugal, Canada, then a break week for the United States Grand Prix. Then we'll be racing at Japan, a break week for Mexico, and then we go to Mexico, then America, and then after the final esports event, there will be races at Azerbaijan before the PS Championship will now finish on the 13th of December at the Brazilian Grand Prix, just in time for Christmas. And judging by how the championship's gone so far, no one really having that massive consistency. Midnight is the only driver to have had 2 podiums in a row, just to give you a clue how up and down the championship has been. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't go to the final round of the championship, even if one driver, a bit like last season with Wilson versus Duncan, looks like a heavy favourite. Still think mathematically it almost certainly will be possible for one of 2 drivers, maybe more, to win it going into that final race.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny really. Sometimes you see a championship absolutely dominated by someone in the first half and think, oh yeah, this is going to be wrapped up. Then suddenly you get a title decided right at the end. And then right now, of course, it's very tight in the top 3 of the championship. But then you saw Blizzard could go on a massive run and seal the championship well before the end. But hopefully for the neutral and for us commentary teams, of course, we will get a championship battle always the end. You know, Brazil, I think Azerbaijan and Brazil being the final 2 rounds, that's a very interesting double-header to end the season on. You know, you've got a challenging street circuit, and then, of course, one of the most famous Formula 1 circuits, which traditionally was a title decided many times, particularly during the real Formula 1 V8 era. I mean, who can forget what we saw with the likes of, you know, Kimi, Alonso, and Hamilton 2007, and Hamilton and Massa a year later. So many titles decided there, so there's a lot of excitement to come. I mean, I'm particularly looking forward to Portimao. It's just going to be very interesting to see how the drivers adjust to that challenge. And I think we'll give, you know, Codemasters get a lot of stick. I mean, let's be honest, but I think credit where credit's due. They've really got the feel of that Portimao circuit right. Even if maybe the lap times are a little bit too quick, but the undulations and stuff, they feel pretty fun to drive.
Yeah, certainly. I think, like you said, credit where credit's due for Codemasters. I know I've given them quite a bit of stick on Twitter, so maybe that's my chances of ever doing F1 esports out the window. But the newer tracks like Zandvoort and Portimao, and hopefully Imola and Jeddah as well, when they get added up to the game in the next few months, definitely do seem to feel slightly better. But it is an older circuit that we are at tonight, of course. The Red Bull Ring, first used in Formula 1 in 1970, changed to this shorter format in 1997, and we saw DRS trains last time around at the British Grand Prix. It's almost a certainty we'll get it there tonight. 3 DRS zones on a circuit which is down as having 10 corners, but realistically it's only got 7, maybe 8 of note. It's a very simple circuit, which means times in qualifying should be fairly close together.
Yes, I mean, it's in terms of lap time, it's going to be the shortest lap of the season, and it's a very intense track, Luke. You know, you don't get much time to relax. I mean, which is a funny thing to say because it's nearly 80% full throttle here, but because you're constantly having to watch your mirrors on that DRS train, you know, you've got turn 1 at the louder curve, then you head all the way up to that tight right-hander turn 3. But you know, you're constantly having to look over your shoulder if you're, you know, battling, you know, defending or attacking. And then you got that sort of technical, you know, middle sector. But you know, it's just a thrilling circuit to watch racing. You know, so many fast corners, and you know, if we get a dry race, then yeah, it's going to be a very familiar pattern for those who have done races many times at Austria, where you get those gigantic DRS trains. However, looking at the qualifying session, it's going to start off in very interesting fashion, Luke, as we are seeing.
Yeah, it is indeed. There you go. F2 actually had a wet qualifying session. 108.1 was the fastest time there, but it was just dry enough for the slick tyres. And I'm sure the McLaren fans amongst us hoped that yesterday's Russian Grand Prix was just dry enough for the slick tyres as well. But you can see full intermediates, what all the drivers will be on. This is going to make things interesting with the strategy for the race. We can tell you that the forecast for the race is for it to be dry. There is a small chance of rain in the later stages, but very unlikely indeed that we are going to get any rain in the race. So that should push for strategy, which can be a bit difficult around here between soft, medium and soft, hard. Obviously now, if it's going to be a dry start to the race, that advantage of starting in 11th place goes out the window. Everyone will be starting the race on a fresh set of tyres, which could lead to some more interesting strategies towards the front of the field.
Yes, and another factor we have to account for, Luke, is because it's going to be a dry race, you're not, I mean, unless they're, you know, crazy, they're not going to compromise their setups too much, except maybe adding some extra front wing for the wet conditions, because they want to be running those dry setups. But of course, Luke, a dry setup in conditions like this, it's not optimum, so you may get some drivers caught out on some of these fast corners.
Yeah, certainly. Park firm-made conditions, as in real Formula 1, apply as soon as you leave the pits for qualifying. Only things you'll be allowed to change are your brake bias and differential, which you can do on the fly. And additionally, in the pits, you can also change your tyre pressures and your front wing angle, as Mark mentioned. Let's go on board then with WR Lars reserving for Michi tonight in the Aston Martin. He got a podium here in F2 last season. Let's see what he can do in his second race this season in F1. Heading up the hill then, first DRS zone towards turn 1. Probably won't see too many drivers attempt an overtake here in the race. Watch out for that runoff area. It's very bumpy indeed and very easy to lose for cars as you're now coming up the hill. Flat out through turn number 2, probably the easiest numbered turn in Formula 1, even in these conditions, and then a heavy braking zone for turn number 3. You can just see Lars there modulating the brake pedal, locking up those front tyres, easy to do in these conditions. Coming out of turn number 3, this will be, of course, the third DRS zone in the dry conditions, no DRS in the wet, into the downhill braking zone at turn number 4. Again, very easy to lock up the front tyre here. Lars, though, still comfortably making the apex, despite doing that through the right-hander at turn number 5. And this is where you do need the downforce on the car at this circuit. These are sort of the medium speed corners now on this track. Into turn number 6, coming through turn 7. Watch out for that curb on the exit and on the entry. It is very easy to spin the car. You're flat out through turn number 8. The pit entry on the right-hand side, which has caused all sorts of consternation in previous seasons. You do have to stick to that line when you are coming into the pits, and you will be penalised if you don't. Through the final couple of corners for Lars then, what sort of time is it going to be? It is a 1:11.009 for Lars. Quite a bit slower than what we saw in F2 earlier, but the conditions do look quite a bit worse than in F2 qualifying. And I'd love to tell you how good that is going to be, but we'll have to wait for the other drivers because we're not really sure what these track conditions are capable of.
Well, the fact that Lars is slightly quicker than Juice and Duncan on that first one out would suggest it's a pretty reasonable time. In F2, of course, they managed to get some soft tyre running in right at the start of the session before the rain really drew in, which meant it was a very static qualifying session. Because this one, unless it dries out later, it's going to be all the way through. We are going to see a bit more qualifying action throughout the 18 minutes.
Yeah, I believe it is actually going to be wet all the way through the session, and seeing as they don't need to use any intermediate tyres in the race, they might as well just go for it. You'll probably see drivers doing multiple laps on these first set of tyres just to get used to what they're like. It is a very short track indeed, of course, as Leo crosses the line in 3rd position. He was fastest in the middle sector. Duncan fastest in the first. Jordan, who won here last season, fastest in the final sector, but it is still Lars who's managed to put it all together to get the best lap time. Shizuo Agiano doing a pretty decent job at the moment in time. He's now the fastest of everyone in the first sector. What can he do for the rest of the lap? Languishing a bit low down in the championship order at this moment in time. He is currently 21st in the championship as Joost goes fastest on that second run. This is what we expect to see. Drivers, they fuel up the car heavier just to, of course, get used to these track conditions, because when it's wet, obviously you can go on time trial, you can set it to be fully wet, you can set it to be light rain in an online lobby, as Ogiano does invalidate on the final corner, a lap which would have been good enough for 4th place. But on this day in history, the easiest way to get used to these track conditions is just go out and do as many laps as possible. And being such a short track, you can do that at the Red Bull Ring.
Yes, I mean, and one of the Aston Martins has actually flown off at turn 4, and that's, Christmas, unfortunately, in the gravel at turn 4, completely missing his braking point, going off. And Jakita had an incident earlier where he lost it out of the final corner, and luckily did not collect another car. So yeah, as we mentioned, running these dry setups, there's little room for error, and it looks like, again, I think Christmas is still trying to recover himself, slowing down to avoid some cars. But yeah, Jordan trying to celebrate his full-time seat now in F1 with pole position has now moved up into that provisional pole position. Nearly 1.5 tenths clear of Duncan in P2.
Yeah, we are seeing drivers just improve their lap times as they get used to what the circuit is like. Duncan came across the line there, did actually go fastest in the middle sector, but lost a bit of time in the final sector, so not going a faster time for him. Daneyko gets himself up into 9th place for 2 main championship protagonists at the moment are 3rd and 4th, with Blizzard just behind Yost, and he's now got his teammate up there as well. Midnight goes 5th. Xander in 6th place. He'll be hoping to get back into the points after scoring points in each of the first 3 races. Failed to do so in the last couple and has dropped quite a bit down the championship order because of that. Leo's fastest of anyone in the middle sector then in the Alpine since joining CRG. He seems to be a bit of a different beast. Got a podium in Italy, of course. What can he do with Austria? Another fairly simple circuit. He crosses the line into 3rd place. Drivers all fairly close at the moment. Top 16 within a second. You would expect that in dry conditions, but it's impressive that we're getting it in the wet as well.
Yes, I mean, some of the drivers you'd expect to be sort of up there in the top 10 seem to be there. Yeah, Alpine had a difficult start to the campaign, but they're now gradually getting quite a few points, and it is particularly through the likes of Leo, as we saw in Italy. Juice is out again. He had a relatively short first run out there and then decided to come in, so probably just test it. I think he'll go for a few more runs now. Duncan takes provisional pole position and Lars moves up to P5 and Will LG moves up to P6. So that's a nice lap time from the Williams driver there.
Yeah, we are seeing a few more drivers starting to improve. Fusilio is one of them, a Haas driver this season, currently just inside that top 10 in the championship, ahead of his teammate on the virtue that he's finished 5th in one race and his teammate finished 6th in one race. He now goes into 12th position then, outside the top 10. As we've said a few times though, that is not going to matter on this stream. M Short has yet to set a time, but I believe he has been having a few issues with his wheel, so he might still be trying to get that fixed and just joined the lobby knowing that there was no other reserve driver available, so I can't really blame him for doing that. Jack Eater, another driver who's not set a representative lap time at the moment. It's not like real life where one of the Haas drivers was 4 seconds slower than his teammate. You'd expect these to be a lot closer, and there we go. Jack Eater comes across the line just 3/10 of a second behind his teammate at this moment in time, but it is Duncan, fastest of everyone, and of course he's yet to win a race this season, and he's admitted himself in previous interviews qualifying is usually his weak point, so he'll be buoyed by that.
Absolutely, I think if he could finish there, that'd be really good for his confidence. Because yeah, qualifying's been a slight weakness of him. His race results have been pretty strong in the first 6 rounds. As Juice has gone slightly quicker, not the quickest of anybody in sector 1, but he's gone about half a tenth quicker in sector 1. But he'll need a little bit more time than that because he's 3/10 shy of Duncan's time at the moment, and it's really struggling to get the power down out of turn 4 at the moment, so not quite finding the bounce car. But let's see what that is in terms of lap time. Oh yeah, purple in sector 2. What am I talking about? It looked really slow, but actually it was very steady, and maybe that was the secret there, because he's fastest of anybody in sector 2, heading through the Rift Curve, named after another of famous drivers from this part of the world. And across the line, is this going to be good enough for a provisional pole for Use? Nearly less than a tenth away from Duncan, so it is very tight between these two at the moment.
Yeah, I think he actually lost a bit of time there in the final sector. Christmas is one of the drivers that is improving. He's still yet to score any points as a full-time driver. Really found it tough so far this season. He just invalidates there, so not ideal whatsoever. Georges, who, a bit like a lot we've seen from a lot of drivers this season, almost seems to be all or nothing. He's had a couple of podiums, maybe could get his first win in F1, did win a pre-season social race as well, so he's definitely got some pace, and there we go, gets himself further up the order into 4th. So we are seeing drivers now starting to go on new sets of tyres and starting to find time on those new sets of tyres. He's Yost, he's going around again, just coming to the middle sector timing point. We'll see what it is through here. He's just under a tenth behind Duncan at this moment in time. He's actually lost time in that middle sector, so he's now 2 tenths down. Being such a short track, of course, even in the dry, you can get so many laps done around here, and I think that's another reason why we're seeing drivers just keep going on and on and on. It's not like a normal qualifying session where you just, Yost has a massive moment there coming through turn 9. My goodness, that could have easily ended very wrong. It's not like a normal qualifying session where drivers are just going to sit in the pitch. You might as well be out there just to make sure you're there for the best track conditions. Even though it's going to rain, who's to say it won't get ever so slightly later at the end, and it might be a case a bit like we saw with the Russian Grand Prix, where if you're the last car across the line, you've got a chance of setting a very good lap time.
I think the conditions are kind of stable, so they're sort of getting used to the conditions. Blizzard, purple in Sector 2. He's got some work to do. He's only in P12 at the moment. This should be an improvement. And it's only P7 though, but that's such a tight qualifying session. I mean, look at that. Half a second covering the top 15.
Yeah, very close indeed. And again, it amazes me how we get it this close together all the time, especially given how tricky the conditions are at the moment. Back on board with Lars as Jordan goes fastest of everyone on 110.365. I believe fastest of anyone in the final sector, but his first two were only green. So we are seeing drivers do pretty good at the moment. Midnight's gone fastest in Sector 2, maybe suggesting a tiny bit more downforce as Lars hops over the curb quite wildly there. And I think any time that he's gained at the earlier part of the lap, he will have lost. So he heads now down the order, getting ready to reset for another lap. Casper goes up into 12th place, and I think last time out would have definitely been a confidence boost for Casper. We know he's had a bit of bad luck so far this season. Getting a good 4th position's really brought him back into the top 10 and brought Mercedes back into the fray for the constructors, it must be said.
Yeah, completely agree. But Jordan is looking really, really strong at the moment. Of course, he won the last time they raced here in season 28. Blizzard is purple again in Sector 2, and he goes up to P2. So that is easily Blizzard's best lap so far. Looked really solid. I followed him throughout it. I mean, quickest sector times, personal best Sector 1, purple Sector 2, personal best Sector 3.
Yeah, can't do much better than that. You would expect, of course, to be improving as the session goes on. Leo's another one who's finding a bit of time at the moment. This might get him, well, given how close things are, who knows? If he just nails the final couple of corners, could easily get himself into the top 2 rows of the grid here in the Alpine. Bit of a slide through turn number 10. Leo heads to Austria line. And there we go. Does slot in between Duncan and Just in 4th place. So that's good news for Blizzard. If it stays as it is, he'd have another driver in between himself and his championship rival, but there is still a long way to go. Fusilio moves himself up into 14th place as Yost crosses the line, goes up into second. The second driver to get into the 1 minute 10.3s, just over 5 minutes remaining. It's Jordan, Yost, Blizzard, Duncan, Leo, your top 5. But with how much we're seeing things change at the moment, who knows how it could end up.
An unbelievable Sector 3 from Justice and smashed the best Sector 3 time. That's what put him up to P2, because actually it wasn't the brilliant first one. Sector 2 again, Blizzard went purple and he just takes provisional pole once again. Sector 2 seems to be absolutely in the palm of Blizzard's hand at the moment, because he seems to go purple there every single lap.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job, you've got to say, at the moment in time. Shizuo Giano was improving. He decides, though, it is worth coming back into the pit. Fusilio heading round the final corner now. Can he get himself further up the order? The Haas drivers, bit under the radar, was a very solid unit so far this season, and Fusilio crosses the line in 9th position. We have now got Asa Combs been able to join the session. He was having a few difficulties early on, so we have got a full contingent of drivers. I am happy to say he's gone into 15th on his first run, and that is not bad whatsoever, as we have got a yellow flag, and I think that is just Blizzard slowing down, getting ready to come back into the pits. A lot of the drivers will be doing that, putting on their final set of tyres. It looks like Jordan is the first to do so. He's in 2nd place at this moment in time, and he's quite a long way back in the championship. It is, as you said, we have still got plenty of races to go. He's 35 points back, but if he gets on a run of results and maybe some bad luck for some of the others, there's no reason why he can't get himself involved in this battle with especially in that victory that he took in Belgium, with the pace that he has shown.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of rounds to go, but he's got to start putting, marrying the pace that he's clearly got with results, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, certainly, and I can confirm it is going to be a dry race. We are expecting it to be dry all the way through the race. So this is the only wet running these drivers are getting. That's why they're not bothering saving any tyres at the moment. You might as well go for it. Will LG is going for it. 10th up, coming through the first sector. Definitely having a better second season. No second season syndrome for the Williams driver. Didn't score any points last season in the F1 tier. He's already got 12 so far this season, with a best finish of 4th at the Dutch Grand Prix, and he's a quarter of a second up coming through Sector 2, which doesn't sound like a massive margin. That could well get him into the top 2 rows of the grid here. So we'll follow the Williams driver as he comes round the final couple of corners. He has got a reserve Fede alongside him today in the Williams instead of CRG Gamer, who was unable to make it. So let's see what Will can do as he heads towards the finish line. He's backed off there at the end, I believe, or maybe even run out of fuel. 110.7. I think, yeah, surely that must have been just Will running out of fuel or something.
Yeah, well, because he actually went purple in Sector 2, but unfortunately, I think he ran out of fuel coming out of the final corner, and then that cost him all that time. And because he's now going to be going around at low fuel mode, he's not going to get time to get back, I suspect, to get another run in. So unfortunately, Will LG, given that the track is still evolving by the looks of it, as Midnight pops out of nowhere, and it's an AlphaTauri 1-2 at the moment.
Yeah, they're starting to look good all of a sudden. We knew it was going to come where both of the drivers would have a good race. It seems to have been one or the other at the moment. Jordan's gone fastest of everyone on a 1:10.200. They are setting some serious lap times around here. George's is improving then. He's personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Still needs to find something through the final couple of corners if he's going to move up position-wise, but this could solidify his 7th position for now. Don't be surprised if things do change. He's just got Duncan just up ahead of him. Well, just behind him, I think, actually. He's got Casper up ahead of him. Duncan just behind him. Casper is going to go and stay in 10th place, I believe. Duncan comes across the line. No improvement for him. Stays in 5th place as Jordan. He's going even faster. 17 thousandths up through the first sector.
Yes, Blizzard's just come out the pit lane. He's only going to get one run at this, I think. Juice to get 2 laps, hopefully. He's just up on his best Sector 1 time. He's got a bit of traffic ahead of him, though, which might affect his sort of dirty a bit, but no, Midnight gets out of the way. Actually, that was Blizzard, I believe, getting out of the way. And yeah, he's actually down in Sector 2 a little bit used, so he's going to have to go again, I think, to improve. So Benjamin now puts it into 1. We're nearly in the 109. The conditions seem to be getting better and better out there, even though the sort of light rain's been quite stable. Will anyone get into the 109s? I suspect at least one driver will be able to do so. That's going to be possibly the magic marker for getting pole position.
Yeah, we haven't really spoken about Benjamin so far this session. We've gone from an AlphaTauri 1-2 to a McLaren 1-2 all of a sudden. Benjamin ahead of Jordan. Benjamin, of course, on the confidence boost after getting his first podium at the last race. Zuagiano is improving as long as he keeps it clean for the final couple of corners. He should move through the order. Jordan has retired from the session. I think he invalidated his lap time, so that is qualifying over for him, and it won't be long before it's over for the rest of the drivers. Ogiano heads towards the finish line. Can he get himself further up the order? He goes up 10 places, 15th to 5th for him. Checkered flag is out. Oh, many of the big names improving. Midnight's had a huge spin coming through turn number 8. Fastest of everyone in the second sector. Well, any chance he had of getting pole position is over.
Well, they are running those dry setups more or less. So yeah, there's always a risk of that. It went onto the curb, and yeah, he was purple in Sector 2, and then that was it. One little mistake, and that was game over. Blizzard's actually not improving himself, so all eyes on Juice, who has gone personal best, Sector 1 and Sector 2, but will it be enough? He's got to find 3/10 to threaten the McLarens. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that.
I don't think so either. He heads towards the line, though, stays in 6th place, lost a bit of time in the final sector. Dan Urko gets himself up into 8th in the Ferrari. Not a bad lap from him. Casper's heading around the final couple of corners. Personal best in Sector 1, personal best in Sector 2, but not by much whatsoever as he now comes across the line. Casper stays at 11th because Lars has got himself up into the top 10. Great job from him. Is anyone else improving at the moment? Leo, he's invalidated his lap.
Yeah, Duncan went purple in Sector 2, then just crossed the line. He's just snatched P3, so the McLarens lock out the front row. The game imitating real life, McLaren informed real life, of course, and it seems to be in the game as well. Benjamin and Jordan, what a result. A Dutch 1-2-3. And just to let you guys know, it was a Jordan and Benjamin on the top 2 in the race back in season 28. So once again, from game to game, showing form at this same track.
Yes, certainly. And it's the first time this season we've had a non-Red Bull / AlphaTauri podium. It's only been Yost, Blizzard and Midnight who have been fastest in qualifying, but it's now Benjamin who takes pole position. Jordan in second, both former reserves, of course. Duncan and Midnight on the second row of the grid. Blizzard has Ogiano between himself and Yost. Lars is in 8th. Georges and Danirko rounding out the top 10. Leo 11th. Casper, Xander, Fusilio, Willow G, Asacombe, Jackita, Fede, M Short, who did get his technical issue sorted, and Crispus are the 20 drivers. The top 19 of those were separated by less than a second. Ooh, I don't know if we can really read that much into qualifying. If we look at the purple sectors, Midnight fast in Sector 1, maybe compromising his setup a bit less. Benjamin fastest in Sector 2, maybe compromising his setup a bit more. But I think with how close all the drivers are, it'll be very brave to try and guesstimate what drivers did to make their cars a bit more stable in the wet.
Yes, I mean, this is beautifully set up the race now, because the top three in the championship, they're going to have to get after those McLarens to get the big points. But, you know, Jordan and Benjamin, they have slowly got into this season. And, you know, both have now had a podium each. Jordan winning at Belgium, of course. Benjamin getting a podium, lasting out, becoming the 11th driver to be on the podium in PSGL 1 in the first 6 rounds of this season. But yeah, I mean, given the pace that we've seen, it's difficult to know how that will translate into dry weather pace. And the tyre choices are going to be key as well. I suspect the majority will be starting on mediums, but will anyone outside the top 10 start on softs? Something a bit different.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what other drivers are going to do. It is going to be fascinating here in the Styrian Mountains, of course. The Red Bull Ring, as it was renamed for the 2014 race, and it has become one of the favourites on the calendar. 10 turns, 4.318 kilometres, one of the shortest full-time tracks, and plenty of undulation. Does make it fairly tricky for all the drivers, and you can see there the majority of the field on the medium tyres. Lars, the lead car, on the softs in 8th place. Himself, George's Casper, Xander, Jaquita and Christmas will be hoping to use those to make some moves up the order. I imagine we're going to be looking at a straightforward one stop. Medium to soft for those starting on the mediums, but those on the softs might go for an early pit stop and might even give the hard tyres a go, because they aren't much slower than the mediums around here.
I mean, the hard tyre is not too bad here. But I think if they can stretch to the softs late on, that would put them in better shape, particularly those further down the order starting on the mediums. But yeah, Used will be a little bit nervous that Lars and Georges are right behind him on those softs, because of course, if they nail their starts, Lars and Georges will get a better launch off the line than Used. So Used will know he's got to try and cover them off, because he can't afford to drop behind Lars and George early on, because he will then lose ground to the likes of Blizzard, Midnight and Duncan, and of course the 2 McLarens locking out the front row.
Yeah, certainly. 2-stop strategy shown there. I think we'll only see that if we do have a few issues with that possibly cause a virtual safety car, maybe even a full safety car. I've put exclamation mark help in the chat. If you go over to the full live chat, that will give you all the help commands to find out how many penalties your favourite driver has, who has the fastest lap, and what the virtual championship standings are going to be. I can tell you that now, obviously, Blizzard would be closing the gap to 10 points if things finished as they are now, but there's a lot of racing to go between then and now as we wait for all the drivers to get onto the grid here and wait for the lights to come on here at the Red Bull Ring to get PSGL Round 7 underway in the top tier. We've got 5 lights. And we're underway for the Austrian Grand Prix. What are the starts like? Straight away, Jordan is trying to cover off Duncan. It looks like the 2 McLarens have had a pretty decent start there. Midnight's going to try and dive one up the inside of the Mercedes, but it's McLaren, Mercedes heading through the first corner. I think that's Xander, who's had to one ride ever so slightly. Blizzard all over the back of his teammate here. The 2 Alpha Tauris going side by side, and it is going to be perhaps a more senior driver who gets ahead and then dives one up the inside of Duncan. What a first lap. This will be from Blizzard. If he can make that move stick, he's got the traction on the exit, and he's done so. That's 2 places gained pretty much in the space of 1 corner from Blizzard. Never mind 2 corners. Straight away, though, he's having to defend from Duncan, defending hard on the inside, and that's Joost who's made his way up the order as well. He's now going side by side with his VSR teammate. So Blizzard 3rd, Joost 4th from starting 5th and 7th. Duncan still trying to keep his nose there. Looks as though he was going to maybe attack for the top 2 at the start of this race. He's now dropped down the order as CRG Leo finds his way off in the gravel trap. We'll have to see if he has got any damage in this early stages. He has got some minor damage, so that could cost him dearly in the end, I believe. But it is Benjamin in the lead of this race from Jordan, and already getting that gap up nearly a full second at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, the 2 McLarens had a really good start, and they didn't fight each other too hard. I think that was smart from both of them to do so. Yeah, but Blizzard really catching Duncan off guard there in the opening lap. So Duncan, I think he'll be really disappointed that he's dropped behind both his championship rivals on the front. And now Midnight threatening a position here. He's gone rather taking the wider line, but right behind him, Lars on those soft tyres, which will be superior for the time being in terms of traction. Now going side by side on the run down to turn 4. Lars should be able to break it just a little bit earlier to get the move done, but to be fair, Midnight braking very well himself. Still going to be side by side as head into the middle sector.
Yeah, fantastic racing between these two there. I think Midnight's just going to perhaps get himself ahead here, because Lars is going to have to go all the way around the outside of turn 7, which is a very brave move if you can make it stick, and he's trying for all it's worth to do so at this moment in time. Fantastic racing between these two cars, and he's done it. Brilliant job by the reserve driver there. That is Lars up into 6th place. Lead car on the soft tyres, doing what he has to do, trying to get these moves done and trying to get them done at non-conventional points, of course, because now DRS is going to be active and it is going to get that all a bit harder. The majority of the field in a DRS train, apart from Christmas and Leo, obviously, who has had to come into the pits, and he's put the hard tyres on to perhaps try to get him towards the end.
Yeah, Lars potentially could be a real pain to the top 5 for a few more laps with the speed he will have for a little while. But yeah, that was brilliant. Without the traction of those softs, that move would not have been possible. But it was a fantastic bit of racing from both. So Midnight's got to regroup now, but he's got Casper and Xander behind him, also on the softs. Casper goes for a late lunge to the inside, light wheel banging, front left to rear right on Midnight. Midnight's gonna have to try and defend the racing line, but this time, unlike the previous lap, is able to cut Casper's path off and maintain P7.
Yeah, one thing he has got to be careful though is if he defends too much, he's not in a threat of it now. He is still half a second behind Lars. If he defends too much and starts dropping outside of DRS, that could cause problems. Benjamin was flying at the start of the race, but I think has realised he needs to temper his pace ever so slightly. Podium for cutting the pit line cost him last time around. He has already got 2 warnings, so maybe penalties could cost him this time around. And Jordan there's got a much better exit out of turn number 1. Is he going to be able to have a go at his teammate on the run up the hill here? We have seen McLarens make contact at this race a long time ago. I think before the majority of you were even born. 1999, David Coulthard hit Mika Hakkinen, and that helped Eddie Irvine get a victory on his way to probably one of the most unlikely championship challenges in Formula 1 history, but no such problems this time around. And Duncan, fair play to him, he has stuck with these guys. It is very easy after you fall back at the start of the race. You can see he lost 2 places, Midnight lost 3, Ogiano 4, Georgia's 5, so it's been a disaster for the Alfa Romeos. It is very easy once you start getting forced off line to just lose more time, lose more places, and your whole race can easily unravel.
Yeah, I think Duncan, I think he's had a good response, as you say. Just keep it calm. As long as he's got clearly really good pace to keep up with Usain Blizzard. Just wait and see, because penalties will play a factor. Casper is throwing absolutely everything at Midnight to get past, but Midnight, despite at the moment being on the inferior tyres in terms of traction, is managing to keep Casper behind, and the longer he does, the more it's going to be in his favour later on.
Yeah, Xander though looking pretty close to his VSR teammate at this moment in time as Jordan dives one up the inside then at turn number 3. Where have we seen 2 people in PSGL make contact at that corner anytime recently? And I think there's just a bit of desync here going on with Jordan, because it looks on my screen as though Blizzard's trying to drive through him, nearly 3 wide there into turn number 4, and still Jordan unable to get that move done. So that's what you've always got to be careful about. If you go for the move, can you make it stick? Casper has done this time around. He gets ahead of Midnight.
There was contact behind. I think Juice has hit Blizzard and knocked him off the racing line, and that's allowed Juice to get through, because unless Blizzard just lost it for a second, I couldn't see it from my angle, but it looked, the way that it snapped, it looked like Blizzard got contact from somebody from behind.
Yeah, if there has been a push to pass, that could well be something that gets their way to the stewards. I'm sure they might be looking at that intently, if it does get reported, of course. I was going to say, the lap before, Xander was all over the back of Casper, but couldn't quite get the move done. Now that Casper's got ahead of Midnight, as Xander drifts his way through turn number 1 slightly, and it seemed to work for him as an exit. Look how close he is to the rear wing of the Alfa Tauri here, and it looks like the junior team might have to give way to the senior one here at the Red Bull Ring. Down the inside goes Xander, still giving Midnight just enough space there, not quite as much of a squeeze as Max Verstappen gave Charles Leclerc a few years ago. And there we go, Xander now gets 8th place. Both of them got DRS. Can Midnight fight back all the way around the outside at turn number 4? Those softs at this point of the race probably still better than the mediums. In a lap or two's time, I won't be quite so sure.
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I'm really, really happy that Lars, Casper and Xander went for something different, because it's really made this first stint. Because if I was expecting pretty much everyone to go on mediums, which would have made things rather static, but the top 5 have to think about this now. They have to look behind them, because Lars, Casper and Xander are going to have good performance on these sides for a few more laps. Yeah, Lars in particular, all over the back of Duncan at the moment.
Yeah, and of course Lars, he's a reserve driver. He doesn't care about anyone's championship chances. He's got nothing to lose. He just wants to prove himself for season 30 that he belongs as a full-time driver, perhaps, in this tier. Things have calmed down at the front after that contact/no contact, maybe, but a bit further back, Casper with Xander all over the back of him. Both of them very low on ERS. You can just about make out that red light blinking from our helicopter cam, but Xander's going to try and make this work all the way round the outside. Casper's being in VSR a while. Xander's a bit of a new boy, so showing no respect for his elder statesman there, and Xander just, for now, decides to, well, I don't think he's had much choice in the end. He has had to stay behind. Further back, Georges has got ahead of Fusilio, or has he? The Haas car's going to try and fight back on the exit. The two Ferrari B and C teams, you could say, and Georges does get that position done. He has now up into 13th place, and I agree with you. It's going to be very interesting to see what Lars is going to do, what Casper and Xander are going to do as well. How early do they come into the pitch? If they start getting to the point where they feel like they're getting held up in this train, they might pull the pin very early on and just put on a set of hard tyres, which obviously will be slower than the mediums, but to try and get that undercut effect and maybe just get themselves into the lead.
Oh, Jaquita has decided to come into the pits. I'm not sure if that's for damage. I will let you know shortly. Two McLarens now going side by side.
Yeah, there we go, round the outside. This time goes Jordan, and Yo's going to try and dive one up the inside of Benjamin. Almost crashed into the back of Benjamin. He's pushed him wide there, and I think Jordan almost got involved, and Blizzard's going to say, why, thank you very much, sir, for just creating a door there. Used is up to second. Blizzard in third. Dives one down the inside. It's a bit of a bump between the two of them. Yost and Blizzard, they're fighting extremely hard here, and this might allow Benjamin and Duncan to get involved, and might allow Jordan to get away ever so slightly round the outside. Blizzard's going to have to try and hang it off. He won't be able to, and that is Yost up into second, Blizzard up into third, and Benjamin from first to fourth in the space of a couple of corners. It shows how easy things can go wrong, and it's not over for him yet, as Duncan's alongside. Round the outside at turn number 9 is not going to work, and I don't think the cut back into turn 10 is a realistic option. So all change at the front of the field. So much action already. We're only at the end of lap 8.
Yeah, this is uncharacteristically aggressive from Use, actually. I mean, I don't often see him doing these sort of dives like that, but it's almost a desperation. I mean, he needs to remember he's actually in the lead of the championship, so he doesn't need to be making these sort of moves, because, you know, some of these could risk the ire of the stewards later on in the round. Blizzard dives down the inside of Use, getting a double toe from the leader, and gets back up into P2. This is an absolutely brilliant first stint. We're seeing far more action than we expected, and Blizzard's going to try and dive down the inside of Jordan to take the lead of the race.
Yeah, he's made it stick as well. Round the outside, Jordan's going to try and hold on to this car, and again we're going to see drivers trying to fight side by side through turn number 6 and turn number 7. Be careful to ensure there's not any contact between them. Blizzard gets ahead. He's in the lead of this race, 4th a couple of laps ago. He's really worked hard to fight his way up the order. Asacombe and Georges are fighting further back, both Alfa Romeos, with 3-second time penalties at this moment, and those on the softs, their progress seems to have been halted ever so slightly. And there we go, about lap 9, I thought was the earliest we'd see anyone pull the pin. Lars comes into the pits. Yes,
so the soft runners coming in. Obviously, they're always going to come in a lot earlier. So yeah, let's see what they go on. It's going to be interesting. Lars is now entering his pit box. Mediums for Lars, and same for Xander. So that's a long way to go. It is doable. They'll have to tyre save a little bit, but they should be able to get to the end. But they're not going to be able to fight too much. So by the end of the race, they're going to be not having too much, but they're going to be undercutting these medium runners, but they are going to get chased down, assuming the leaders pit for softs later on, which will be a while from now.
All ready for round 3 then of Casper versus Midnight. Midnight now starting to fight back. Those mediums getting better, and Casper only getting a slight slipstream off his teammate. So Midnight and Okiano, and obviously the entire field behind, will be hoping that they get well out of the way soon. Lars comes out in plenty of free air, 16th position then at the moment. Xander in a bit of free air as well, so they're going to start using those medium tyres, and that time is going to drop 18.5 seconds to the leader, and it is just going to fall extremely quickly indeed. Expect Lars to be in the lead of the race once we have seen all the drivers make their pit stop. Still quite a while to go though. Blizzard in the lead, Jordan in second, Yost in third place. Jordan, I've just noticed, 94% ERS. He's got the DRS open. He doesn't seem too bothered about really pushing too hard. But it's overtake on Blizzard. Is he going to pull out of the slipstream and go for a late move up the inside? Just sort of lazily leaves a bit of a wheel up there, gets himself tapped around, and I'm not sure that was the best move there, but either stay fully back or fully commit to the move. Jordan caught in between two lines.
Yes, it was a half-hearted move, I'd say. I think it was always going to be Blizzard's corner. I think he had to use a bit more ERS from earlier back. it was almost like, I'm going to stick behind. Then in the last 200 meters, no, I'm going to go for it. And that's why it didn't really work out. So I think that was pretty fair defense from Blizzard there, because it wasn't really a fully committed overtake, in my opinion. Use had sort of a little sniff, but he was sort of blocked in by Jordan after getting tapped by Blizzard in front. So top 3 as you were. Casper is definitely extending the stint on those softs. I don't think he'll pit for maybe another 2 laps. So he's certainly going to have better mediums later on. Lars and Xander's lap time's pretty competitive at the moment on those fresh mediums, so I think they'll be undercutting a lot of these guys significantly. Casper in particular will be their target for that.
Yeah, already the gap to the leaders, if we just get that up again, it's 17.2 seconds now for Lars. I believe he will take the lead of this race. Jordan a bit further back this time. Duncan tries one down the inside. Let's not forget he's still involved in all this battling, and Benjamin, I think, is going to lose another position, unfortunately. And there we go, the Mercedes of Duncan gets himself into 4th place, still the highest man in the championship, yet to get himself a victory as Jordan's dived one up the inside of Blizzard. His teammates trying to go around the outside. Blizzard's almost round, makes a bit of contact with Yost there. Yost is up into 2nd, Blizzard 3rd, Duncan 4th, and Casper makes his way through into 5th. I think I need about 5 different camera angles to keep an eye on everything.
Well, I thought for a second Blizzard was going to tank slap right into the path of Use and take them both out. But luckily, I think it was a minimum contact. Benjamin is losing another place to Midnight. It looks like I see he got damage. He's coming in. Benjamin's coming in after 11 laps, so I suspect he might have picked up some damage somewhere in all that. I will double check with you as the battle continues. But yeah, now Use now onto the back of Jordan, looking to take the lead of the race for the first time.
Yeah, it was very minor damage for Benjamin. I think only about 6% is saying on game, but I've heard from a few drivers say even minor damage can make your car pretty much undrivable on F1 2021, so no surprise he's coming to the pits. He's gone for another set of the medium tyres, so that is, obviously, as you've got to use 2 different types of dry tyre, that's his colours firmly nailed to the 2-stop mast. He will be coming in for soft tyres at the end of this race, and I wonder if a few more drivers might be thinking about that as well. There's battles all the way up and down the field. You've got Fede on the back of Will, he's full-time driver in the Williams, and a reserve driver, and M-Short there as well in the Alpine. These are a bit off the drivers up ahead of them, and M-Short now gets ahead of Fede into 14th place. So much has gone on. We've still got all 20 drivers in this race as it's Shizuo Giano facing the wrong way coming out of turn 8. Thank the Lord for the ghosting system. He'll be able to get back out on the circuit. Not a bad recovery. Needs to be careful on those tyres though, as they will very easily overheat, and that is George's into the pits off his softs.
Yeah, wing damage for Giano. That's a real shame. He was having a really solid first stint, and I think he's cut the pit lane as well and picks another 3-second time penalty. So it's all gone wrong on that lap for him. Comes in, and here comes Yusen looking to take the lead for the first time. And he slots in a turn 4. Splitter's going to try and follow through. Makes light contact with Jordan, which is going to compromise Jordan's exit, which means he won't be able to fight back at you straight away. And in turn, Blizzard's now under threat from Duncan behind.
Yeah, but it's all kicking off here. Duncan's going to try and go around the outside. Ogiano retires in the pit lane. Asa Combs had a spin as well. Duncan's finding himself squeezed off the track ever so slightly. This is brilliant at this moment in time. So much going on. Do not know where to watch half of the time. Yost in the lead, Jordan second, Blizzard third, Duncan in 4th. Casper, fair play to him. He's hanging in there on this set of the soft tyres. This might not have been a bad idea going ever so slightly longer. Yes, he's going to be on mediums at the end of the race, and those around him are going to be on a set of softs, but it's very interesting indeed, as there is just a yellow flag in Sector 1. I believe that is for the AI car of Ogiano, so hopefully nothing for these drivers to worry about. Yost in the lead, Jordan second, Blizzard third, Duncan 4th, Casper in 5th position, Midnight 6th, Dan Aiko, who we've not really talked about. He's just sitting at the back of this train watching it all unfold at this moment in time. He'd be tempted to get the popcorn out if he wasn't focused so much on driving.
Yes, I almost think Casper is hoping for a safety car, because if he was to get a safety car now, he'd be in the box seat, because he'd pit for the mediums, and certainly those who will be clearly aiming for the softs later on at this stage would not be able to go to the end of the race on softs from here. So I think that's always what Casper is hedging his bets for. No sign of that at the moment, because we haven't really seen many instances as Will LG and OP battle side by side. It's almost 3 wide now. I think, yeah, M Short just takes the pair of them as Will LG, OP, I should say, comes back. So this is a great scrap for P9. But yeah, M Short, because, oh, whoa, that was a big desync there for a second there. I thought there'd been contact, but no, a little bit of a lag spike there on OP. But M Short taking 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, Casper finally then comes into the pits. 15 laps on those soft tyres. Obviously started fresh at the start of the race. Not bad whatsoever. And this will show how much time he has lost to, I imagine, Lars Zander. Probably not. Might even be under a tiny bit of pressure from George. As of course he's had the DRS to help him out ever so slightly. Joost Jordan, as George sets the fastest lap of the race. You will get a point for that if you're in the top 10. Let's not forget, top 10 get points like real Formula 1, but it's 16 for first, 12, 10, 8, and then 6 down to 1 for the top 10 drivers. So it does make things a slight bit closer. As again, M. Shaw and Fede battling. Will a bit further behind, and that is now M. Shaw up into 8th position. Some of these drivers, I mean, yeah, they're having great fun battling, but they might need to think about trying to work together ever so slightly to try and get themselves further up the order. As you see on the left-hand side there, Casper, he has come out behind George's, and if we get the gap to the leader up, he's a massive 5 seconds behind Lars.
Yes, but Lars has pitted a lot earlier, as has Zander. And Zander has actually dropped quite a bit back from Lars, actually, out of DRS range. Azukomi has been overtaken by Lars just then. Casper, crucially, straight out the pit lane, overtook Yakita into turn 3, I should say. So he's gained a place immediately, and that was really important for his race, not to be held up by Yakita, who's been on those mediums for a long time. As Jordan now tries to go for a move, it's free wide at turn 3. Oh my goodness, Jordan, they're still free wide as they head down to turn 4. This could all end in tears. Watch out for Duncan, he's trying to sneak down the inside between the middle of them. Blizzard's going to retake the lead of this race on lap 17. This time gets the move done. Jordan, so Use has gone from the lead of the race to 4th in 2 corners.
Absolutely incredible. Jordan was sitting back behind Joost, and Blizzard thought, well, if you're not going to go for the move, I might as well try and get 2 in 1. And it worked out. There was a bit of contact, of course, unsurprisingly. Joost got kind of ruffled off the track, and I think his feathers will be ruffled about all that. He will not be happy whatsoever. Dropped down from 1st place to 4th position, and things take another swing in this championship battle. Duncan and Jordan perhaps showing that they want to make it more than a 2-horse race as well, and Midnight and Danerco not too far back either. Dramatic scenes here. Lap 18 out of 36 at the end of this one. We'll be halfway through. All these drivers still to pit that we're seeing at the front of the race. Lars is the lead of those that have pitted, but he's going to have to go a long, long way off his set of tyres. And Midnight, yeah, Christmas, I should say, he's a long way down the order at this moment in time, as in Leo. Early issues perhaps for both of the drivers, costing them. Here comes Jordan, closing in on the back of Blizzard, not using that ERS, and we saw this early on from him. He seems to be doing an incredibly good job at the moment at conserving that energy. I imagine the lap he's going into the pits will be absolutely blistering from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case. But while all this battling has gone on, Midnight and Danerco have gradually worked their way back up to the lead group, and now firmly in this fight. A single time penalty for any of these drivers will be absolutely fatal. It seems like the consistency of these drivers has been so strong so far. It may well come down to a time penalty or 2. But we're about half distance now in this particular race, and yeah, a long way to go in this one. A lot of battling to come. It's going to be all about the timing of the pit stop, how good their outlap is, can they make the undercut work, and of course, keeping those time performance. And then we have to forget that the likes of Lars, Zander, and George and Casper are going to be undercutting these guys. So there's going to be a ton of action at the end of this race for sure.
Yeah, we got there. Joost almost thinks about trying to get up the inside of Duncan. Wasn't close enough to do that. Compromises his line, and I think compromised Midnight and Danerco as well. You've got Fede and M. Short still battling. Will's there, and what could make things awkward for these cars that are coming up behind him is Lars is now just 1.5 seconds behind this battle for 8th, 9th, and 10th place, and they're going to have the DRS as well. So not going to be the easiest to make your way past that car, and he's not really flying away from Asakone, because you can see he's hanging on there. That's a big drift from the Ferrari driver. That might give Zander a chance. It's going to be intriguing to see how it all works out with the different tyre choices, because they went very early off their set of soft tyres. George's and Casper went at about the more normal stage that you would expect. I think one of the few laps we've not had any changes for the lead, well, towards the lead of the race, we should say. 17 laps to go, as we see the first driver coming off the set of the mediums, and that is fairly early on from M. Short.
Yes, M. Short has had enough of battling Will LG and Fede by the looks of it, so he comes in for an early pit stop, and that is indeed onto the soft. So he's going to have to do 16 laps on those, or 15, I should say. So that's going to be a long stint on those as the battling at the front continues. Jordan now chasing down Blizzard, who's actually not got that much ERS. He's usually very good at managing it, but not today because he's having to do so much overtaking and defending. So he's got 34%. Jordan's got 100%. So that could be key later on in this particular stint. But that's good news for Lars. One of those cars getting out of the way, pitting early actually. So now he's got 2 to get past. So he wants to not get held up too long because otherwise Xander and Casper's pace on these mediums is really strong. He's really paying off that stint where he was able to stretch out those softs that much longer than Lars and Xander. And I think he will have a massive advantage over Lars and Xander. He's on the back of Xander and Asakome now as Lars actually manages to get ahead of Will LG, who I believe is coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be too long before we see the rest of the medium runners coming in. I would have said before the start of the race, round about lap 20, lap 21 anyway, for the medium runners to come in and put on a set of the soft tyres. So are we going to see the drivers go for it a bit more here? Christmas, I think he's got that red X on his car, so he's not in the race.
3 wide, Casper, Xander and Asakome. Sorry to cut you off, but this is a great battle brewing here. Crucial moments now because they don't want to waste too much time, because sooner or later they're going to have a massive torrent of soft runners charging them down in the closing laps.
Yeah, I mean, you've just seen a great example of there what happens when you've got no DRS and you've run out of ERS. Casper gets past Xander like he was almost had his handbrake left on. George just gets ahead of Asakome as well. Things are really starting to spice up, and we're now seeing those that pitted early on having to go for it as the drivers are starting to blink. Blizzard comes into the pits, Jordan in there as well, and I think Duncan has also followed. Yost, he's going on an extra lap, so Yost takes the lead of this race. Lars, Casper and all these guys are going to be so far clear of the medium runners.
Yes, the undercut. Just to underline how powerful the undercut is, Benjamin had a wing change and then pitted for the mediums, but despite that, he was able to get ahead of Midnight Dan Aiko on their softs. But that it does come with a little asterisk, as it looks like we've got a car off. Is that Will LG? Or is that, no, M. Shaw has gone off after the rid curve and has rejoined the race. So yeah, another nightmare moment for the Alpine. So they've had some good results recently, but I think today they're not going to get any points.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a bit of a race to forget for those drivers, as Midnight has been passed by his teammate Blizzard. Blizzard trying to hold on to that. Jordan on the back as well of these drivers, so these are fighting incredibly hard. Midnight defending to the inside here, could do his teammate a bit of a favour, and of course, Daneko and Midnight had got ahead of both of these drivers. Daneko is staying ahead. There we go, Jordan up the inside of Midnight, who I think shortly is going to have to yield, but I've said that before in this race, and he gets himself a 3-second time penalty there. Be interesting to see whether he thinks he was forced off the track and might be able to get that one removed. Yost comes into the pits then, and that means Lars now leads this race. Casper right behind him in the second position, and the gap back from Lars to, it will be the first car on the soft tyres, is Daneko. He's about 7 seconds. You should expect them to make that up. Just will he be able to get all the overtakes done on these drivers who are on the slower medium tyres?
Oh my goodness, this is massive battles going on now. Benjamin's going to have to try and defend against all these soft runners. It's going to be virtually impossible. He's to be forced wide, actually. He's just got out of the way, and I think that's sensible, to be honest. The pace disadvantage he has at this stage, being on those mediums a lot longer than these fresh soft runners, is just incredible. He's now down P11. Maybe he's going to do a blocking job for Jordan to hold Use back a bit, who's now got the fresh soft tyres. I believe that's every driver's now made at least one pit stop. Blizzard now trying to chase out. Daneko is actually the lead driver in this soft runner group. So he pitted earlier, of course, than Blizzard. So they're going to be now chasing down Yakita, who not sure he'll be going to the end of the race. I think he may pit again because he's done 14 laps on those mediums already. So they're now going to be chasing down the likes of Xander, Georges, Casper and Lars. So the battle for the lead at the moment, it's Lars, and Blizzard picks up a time penalty, and that could be absolutely huge in terms of the points battle for the championship.
That would currently put him from 7th place all the way down to 12th, and it wouldn't even be close. It's 1.8 seconds from Blizzard back to Yost. That is how close things are at this moment in time, and he's going to have to rely on some of those other drivers picking up time penalties. Casper has 2 warnings at this moment in time. Daneko has 2, Jordan has 2, Duncan has 2, I think Yost only has 1, and Lars only has 1, but obviously Lars is on really old tyres. Xander only has 1, and again, he's on really old tyres at this moment in time. As things stand with the tyre situation, 38% for the front left on Lars, with 13 laps to go, and he's done 13 laps. He's going to be close to puncture territory at the end, but I think they are going to get away with this one-stop strategy. The mediums are lasting quite a long time. It's something we've seen a lot on F1 2021, is that the tyres last longer than they did on the previous games, but that is going to be an absolute nightmare for Blizzard with that penalty. Of course, with all the drivers that close behind him, we saw from the first half of the race, it's very unlikely he's going to be able to pull out 3 seconds on these. He's got to rely on those picking up penalties as well.
Yes, and that's going to be music to the ears of Use, who had more argy-bargy. He's had a lot of sort of little bits of niggly contact with drivers throughout the race. They went battling with Benjamin, who went defensive to the inside of turn 3, and Use actually was forced off the track. It may have been just Benjamin missed his braking point just a little bit, but the battling continues. Jordan now trying to close down. Fair play to Dan against Casper then. It's going side by side with Lars on those fresher mediums, of course. And then Lars at this point, so Casper's going to have the inside for 4 and should be able to take the lead of the race. So Casper getting the reward for going that much longer on the softs right now, takes the lead of the race. Georges right behind. This has been a good recovery from Georges because he had a difficult first lap. Duncan side by side Midnight. Yakita has spun at turn 4. I'm barely able to keep up this action, so much is going on.
I have no idea where I'm supposed to look because there's action happening, yes, but somewhere else you're not sure. Is it better action? Stuck with the lead battle. Casper locked his rear brakes up actually ever so slightly coming through turn 4, and that almost gave Lars a chance to fight back. And that spin from Jack Eater is delightful news for these on the soft tyres because he was the first car they were going to come up to. Their next target is going to be this train for the lead of this race. Are they going to be able to do it just on the DRS, or are they going to have to think about different parts of the track to try and get these moves done? Casper's now in the lead. Lars is in second. How much longer though as he now comes straight up the inside with the use of the drag reduction system? Takes the lead of this race back off of Casper. Georges tries to get his nose back in there to fight back. Not able to do so. What might cost Lars is he's on a lot less ERS than the 3 cars behind him. Definitely Casper at this moment in time. He's on about 70%. Lars was on 20. Georges now gets back up to 70%. And Xander is on about 60. So Casper doing a very good job at keeping hold of his electrical energy. That could prove to be very useful once the soft runners come knocking.
Yeah, Eustace forces his way past Midnight. Again, light contact between the two. Midnight's AI driver lifting up his hand in frustration as he was forced to the left at turn 4. But now the top 4 are being chased down by the soft runner. Dan Ako, the leader in this group, he's got a time penalty now. So in effect, in terms of the soft runners, Jordan is the leader with Duncan and Yush just behind. Blizzard will be praying that more of the drivers behind him get a time penalty. Otherwise, he's not going to finish on the podium today. As Casper chases down Lars once again. They're going to go side by side up into turn 3. Can Georges get any sort of move done? No, he's going to keep a watching brief for the time being. Xander's right there. Casper goes round the outside at 3 and retakes the lead and gets DRS actually because of the lapped car ahead. So that's really important. And can he sort of break away from Lars a little bit? You would think as the laps go on, Casper should be able to break away with those fresher tyres. Blizzard now has got ahead of Dan Ako. Now, can Daneko sort of hold up Jordan? How much slower than Blizzard is he at this stage? As we have a yellow text free, that's Jaquita retiring from the race actually. So Blizzard's now cleared Daneko. If Blizzard can clear these medium runners quickly, he might be able to just negate that time penalty before the end of the race. That is going to be the way. And Jordan's now picked up a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, I think it was the exit of turn 4. Jordan tried to go round the outside of Daneko. Daneko, similar to what we sort of saw with Perez and Norris this year, but nowhere near quite as aggressive. Just moved Jordan to the outside of the track, who went over the white line, got himself a 3-second time penalty. And again, that could be one that we see get removed. Benjamin comes into the pits as Jack Eater's AI car. Not very helpful whatsoever, and that's why I'm not a fan of even retiring in the pit lane, because it can cause all sorts of problems as Lars and Georges are battling now. Georges gets ahead of the Aston Martin. It's all starting to fall apart for Lars and maybe even Xander as well. They've got Blizzard right on the back of him, who has now got a 1-second window to Jordan. Round the outside goes Blizzard. Xander's not going to leave him any space whatsoever, and these two are locking wheels. That's bringing Jordan back into the play. Daneko and Duncan going side by side here. Has the Mercedes driver got enough pace to go round the outside of the Ferrari? Not on this occasion. There is so much going on here. Casper's not in a bad situation. He's got fresher mediums than those behind him. He's got no penalties either, so you've got to say he's looking pretty good maybe to claim this first victory of the season.
Well, given some of the appalling luck he's had, I would be absolutely delighted for Casper if he can convert this. It's going to be a hard challenge from this point on, though, because Blizzard now takes Lars on the inside. Now moves up into the podium position. Xander has held back Jordan for an extra corner at least, but he's running very low on ERS. So I think we Jordan should be able to get the move done here. And yes, indeed, he will do. Duncan will probably be trying to hope to follow through Daneko. And yeah, gets the move done on Duncan up to P7. They go side by side. Use is right behind the pair of them. Daneko's trying to squeeze Use, but no, it's too late for the defense. Here comes Use. Down the inside he goes. He's going to try and dive down the inside of Duncan as well. But look at that. Brilliant break from Daneko. He's actually attempting to defend this position. Can he go any further? There's still a good traction on those softs. But yeah, in the end, Use just getting a little bit better on the traction out of that turn 6 and able to move up into P8.
Yeah, Daneko's just starting to drop ever so slightly. Midnight's still there as well. These 10 are going to be the 10 that score points, and they've been those really since the start of the race that we thought would be those ones. But drivers, like I said, Casper's got 2 warnings. He needs to be careful. I've just had to look back an incredibly long way, I have to say. I didn't realise how long I'd have to look back. Season 24... and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the chat. Season 24 was the last time Casper took a victory here in the top tier of PSGL. He might not get it out on track either because Georges and Blizzard are looking extremely as well. Down the inside, Casper and Georges make contact. Blizzard, I don't know whether he's got any damage with that either, but that's allowed Jordan to get the move done. Just so unlucky there. I think Casper obviously going for the move, maybe focusing on Blizzard and not realising that he still had Georges alongside him as well. There was contact between the two of them. Georges loses out what's been a fantastic race. Blizzard didn't get any damage. Thankfully, none of the drivers did. Benjamin picked up another time penalty. Yeah, such a shame for Georges. So unlucky. What was looking like a good result. Who knows, on those on mediums, he might now even struggle to stay in the points.
Yeah, and Casper's now got 2 very fast soft drivers behind him. However, if he doesn't get a time penalty, it's going to be difficult, I think, for Blizzard and Jordan to get 3 seconds on Casper. So I think he's still got a chance of winning this race. But yeah, Blizzard, I mean, the 2 cars turned in and the gap just closed. So I can't say 100% without seeing the onboards whether that was his fault for spinning Georges. But, you know, 3 just don't go into it like that. And Blizzard's now going to sweep past Casper to take the lead, but he's got 5 laps on to get a 3-second gap. Can he do that? Jordan, for his race, is absolutely crucial. He gets ahead of Casper before Casper drops out of DRS range of Blizzard, and I think Jordan's going to try and go for it now. Blizzard's well within his rights to defend the position. Oh, they will bang again. We've seen that so many times in this race. He's going to have the better traction. Go round the outside corner at turn. Oh, and Casper's clipped the back of him. Oh, and he's gone off as well. So I think, to be fair, Luke, I think Jordan had that, but Casper just understeered into the back of Jordan and spun the car. So I don't think that was a racing incident. But yeah, that is terrible luck for Casper.
Oh, I'd hate to be a steward tonight because they are going to have a long evening. Now Duncan picks up a time penalty. My goodness, I was about to say, it goes to the other Mercedes being the favourite. Asakoma's retired out on track. We have got a late safety car. Is anyone going to dive into the pits and maybe put on a fresh set of soft tyres? Will LG's gone for it. This is absolutely dramatic and a nightmare for those on penalties because they've got even less time to try and make that gap. Yeah,
and that might actually save Casper. That could give him half a chance for a podium. Will he come in for? Well, no, he stayed out, so I don't think anyone's going to pit now except for those low down the order. So Lars and Just, what a huge thing that is for them. Just now in position to win this race. If Lars can hold on, he will be on for a podium because he's got no time penalties either, and Xander could get P3. So it depends how quickly they get up to speed at safety car restart. I suspect it's not going to be out for long, so maybe the start of lap 34 will get going again. I think it will be 1 lap at least because the field's quite spread out at the moment. But yeah, what drama we've had here at the Red Bull Ring. Blizzard leads, but that time penalty, we said it when they were fighting earlier that a single time penalty for any of these could be absolutely crucial, and that late safety car has really put it into favour of those who have kept it just that little bit cleaner.
Yeah, certainly. Yost, you've got to say, he's not looking too bad maybe for a 4th victory of the season. He's got no penalties at the moment. I'll check the warnings. He is only on 1 warning, so I'd imagine with a couple of laps under the safety car, he's going to have to really have a bit of a brain fade to maybe get 2 extra warnings in the final couple of laps. And he's got 1 lap fresher tyres, as you can see, from the TAS system as well. He has got the slightly fresher tyres than Duncan and Jordan, and even more so ever so slightly from Blizzard. They're all going to be struggling with warm-up, those on the older tyres, especially Lars on the older mediums. There's been loads of cars coming to the pits for fresh softs that time around. Georges is now on a fresh set of softs. Xander He's sacrificed that track position to Casper to get that fresh set of the soft tyres, knowing how good they are going to be, of course. Fede's done something similar. Answers on a postcard, ladies and gentlemen, as to what this podium is actually going to look like. Safety car, I think, will be out there for one more lap, and then we're going to have 2 laps of action. No DRS. Everyone's going to have full DRS. It's just going to be the difference of the tyres and what everyone can do in these final couple of laps. Don't go anywhere.
Yes, and for use now, it's going to be all about converting the result here, because we have seen some incidents which I think from Use's point of view might be a little bit questionable, might go to the stewards, but assuming that nothing happens there, Use now has a huge opportunity to extend his championship lead, because if Lars can keep in touch, Blizzard may potentially finish in P3, so that would extend the championship lead for 6 points. And someone in the chat asking what the safety car was for. Asakome had an unforced error out in sector 2 and crashed out the race, so that is what drew out the safety car.
Yes, it did, and this is a very dramatic safety car that could have quite a big say. Things were starting to look good for Blizzard. He got a penalty. Jordan then, he got a penalty. Then Duncan, he got a penalty. Yost has kept it nice and fairly clean at the moment in terms of penalties, but like you said, there's been a few questionable wheel banging incidents, but I can't name any of the top, 5 or 6 drivers who haven't been involved in any sort of wheel banging at this moment in time. How many will be given racing incidents? Even a 5-second penalty a game with how close the field are, never mind the on-track penalties. Any penalty given afterwards is going to play absolute havoc with your race position. But it is Blizzard in this lead of the race at the moment. If he drops down, we'll say into second place, I think it's going to maybe need something to go slightly wrong for Yost for him to not finish within 3 seconds of Blizzard. But if Blizzard drops down into second place and Yost gets first, that is going to be a 16-point lead as well, gets a 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flags. Seems a bit surprising to get that at this moment in time. Fastest lap of the race is currently Fede. I don't think we'll be seeing that getting beaten by any of these at the front of the field. Safety car in this lap. Blizzard needs to try and get a run on Jordan here and just get away. 2 qualifying laps are needed from the entire field to give themselves the best possible chance. Who's going to be on the podium, ladies and gentlemen? We'll find out in just over 2 minutes' time.
Yeah, I think Will LG will get that 5 seconds removed, because I think he was I think it was getting past Christmas's sort of disconnected or desynced car. So I think he will get that removed if he reports them to the stewards, because I think several drivers have had that situation.
Yeah, certainly. Blizzard still not going yet. Doesn't want to give anyone that slipstream, as long as he doesn't accelerate and brake erratically. As there we go, coming through turn number 9. He puts the hammer down, gets it away, and Hughes gets a much better exit than Duncan and Jordan. Lars, unsurprisingly, struggling quite a bit behind. So here we go. We are back to green flag action. Again, no changes towards the front of the field. Danerco's going to try and go all the way around the outside of Midnight, though. For 6th and 7th place, both of them have got a penalty, and Danerco's done it. Brilliant driving from him. You can see the penalty situation at this moment in time. Georges has already got ahead of Casper, so that is 1 car dropped on this occasion. As Midnight tries to fight back at Danerco, Lars is going to be the bit of a cork in the bottle here, as Xander now gets ahead of Casper. Midnight, Danerco having a bit of trouble. Georges gets ahead of Danerco, and he's got himself another 3-second time penalty. In doing so, can he get down the inside of Midnight on the run down towards turn number 4? He's going to dive very late on the brakes, but he's got the grip to do so at the front of the field. Blizzard, to be fair, he's already nearly 2 seconds ahead of Yost. He's on for second place as things stand.
Yeah, well, only 1 more lap to go. He might have thought, well, 1 more lap at least. But yeah, Xander is actually an outside bet for a podium. If he can get a few more overtakes, it's going to be difficult. But he's got the freshest soft, so he may as well just send it. He's got nothing to lose at this point. He could be on for his best result so far in PSGL 1, given how many time penalties are. Yellows in sector 3. Yeah, that is one of the Alpines. I think M Short has come a cropper as we enter the final lap. Xander then trying to get ahead of Danerco Midnight. Meanwhile, at the front, Jordan not really able to challenge Blizzard at time being. Blizzard's finding clean air. Seems to have pretty good pace. That time penalty may mean it's too little too late.
Yeah, who knows if these time penalties are going to get removed, because I think Jordan's got a slim chance of getting a time penalty removed, perhaps. Maybe any of the others do as well. I'm not sure. Will and Fede are battling for the final places as well. You can see how much Lars is struggling. He's already dropped to second behind Georges, who his time penalties, now that he's got 6 seconds, are really going to cost him in this race. Xander on the back of Danerco. It all looks to be calming down ever so slightly. Fede trying to get ahead of Leo. The lack of DRS and everyone having full DRS, even with the even tyres, seems to have negated things ever so slightly here. Blizzard is going to cross the line to take a victory out on track here, but after the penalties are applied, he's not going to be able to take it, and these results are very provisional. Georges is out of the race. Blizzard takes the victory. Yosto claims it after the penalties are sorted out. It will be a second place for Blizzard. Jordan in third. Lars hangs on to fourth by 35 thousandths of a second. Leo is sixth. Xander, Fede, Fusilio, Midnight gets the final point. Casper, what looked like a very possible victory, ends out a long way down the order in 11th in the end. M Short, and I believe we've got Ogiano as well, and some, not Ogiano, I do apologise, other drivers that were down there at the bottom. We had M Short, Benjamin and Danirko. Something must have happened with him. I wonder if him and Georges did make contact at the end of that race. But Yost, it is a fourth victory this season, extends his gap at the top of the championship to 16 points. But again, very provisional. Some drivers might get penalties removed, some drivers might get them added.
Yes, Juice dancing onto the podium again, fourth win of the season. But yeah, it's going to be a busy night in the stew, as you suspect. After all that, it's as you were, the top two in the championship in the top two steps of the podium, which is quite funny in a way. After all that crazy action we saw, none of the races this season have been dull. Even Zandvoort was quite exciting. And Jordan, yeah, well, celebrates his full-time seat with a fantastic podium. And yeah, you've got to say, big credit to Lars, the reserve, finishing P4. So, 4 Dutchmen in the top 5. Obviously, and, a good race for Leo. I mean, Leo had a massive incident early on in the race on lap 1 and able to recover to P6. So it's been a pretty topsy-turvy. I mean, look at that. Fede, 18th to 8th. So 10 places gained in the end. So both OP drivers actually finishing in the top 10. So that's a really nice result for them.
Yeah, so much happening there, and so many drivers will be thinking, what could have been, of course. But it is Yost who takes his fourth victory of the season. Blizzard, that penalty gets him into second place. He's now 16 points behind. Jordan is third. Lars, great result from him. Maybe the safety car helped him out, but he went for that early undercut, and it definitely proved to be the right thing. Brilliant job from the reserve driver. Duncan finishes in fifth. Leo, in the end, after 3 pit stops, was last place on the first lap, was a long way down the field. He gets home in 6th place. Xander gets his best result of the season in 7th. Fede, 8th place and an extra point for the fastest lap. Fusilo is 9th. Midnight is 10th. Missing out on the points for Casper, M Short, Benjamin, Danirko, Willow G and Georges, I believe, retiring on the final lap. Christmas was desynced. Asakone's retirement calls for safety car. And we saw Jackita and Shizu Ogiano retire in the pit lane in what was a very interesting Austrian Grand Prix, and I think we said it earlier on, caused by the different strategies we saw by the wet qualifying session. Everyone had a free choice of tyres for the race, and it was interesting seeing those on the softs work their way up the field and then go through the undercut, and then led to that mismatch at the end.
Yes, I mean, the late safety car was definitely unexpected, and I think that's what cost Casper a big result in the end. And then, of course, had that contact with Jordan just before. But yes, I mean, we saw far more action in the first stint than we expected, because normally it's a big DRS train and it gets quite static until the tyre strategies play out. But this was like action-packed from start to finish. I mean, this is shaping up to be one of the best PS2 F1 seasons in a long time. But Juice, yeah, once again, assuming these provisional results stay the same, he's now extended his lead to 16 points, which of course isn't unassailable given the amount of races we have to go. But that's he's got 4 wins and he now has a race win in the pocket in terms of points. So if it was to finish in a tie at the end of the season, he's got the count back as well. So looking very good for Juice at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it shows the consistency that Blizzard's started to show as well. The fact that Yost has got 4 wins, Blizzard's only got 1. He's still only got that 1 race win ahead in the championship. And now we saw Jordan as well. He put in a good performance. We said he needed to. Whether he'll get his penalty removed, whether I think Duncan as well, he might be able to get one, whether Blizzard did. So many drivers getting the multiple warnings, and the late, with how close the field is, we said that was obviously going to cause issues for those who had penalties. And then the late safety car as well could have caused more problems in the end for Blizzard and Jordan and Duncan as well. It was a great job done by Lars, who was obviously keeping the entire field behind them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Lars is my driver of the day, because he was right in the middle of all those soft runners with, no time penalties on the mediums, a massive disadvantage right in the race, coming in as a reserve, maybe not as much practice as the full-time drivers, and he's done a superb job to get a top 4 finish. And putting himself in the conversation for a full-time seat, maybe not this season, but for season 30. So, if he keeps that up, I believe that is Alpine's best result of the season. But of course, he won't be able to score points for the constructor, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, such a shame, obviously, for them. And I think in the Constructors' Championship, I think Red Bull now have actually, obviously, closed up on AlphaTauri in the Championship. I'm not quite sure whether they have taken the lead. Shall we head over to the interview room and see who we've got waiting there for us? Because I believe our race winner is there and waiting.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to a very difficult track next, of course, China, which is known for its high tyre deck, particularly on the fastest tyre choice, which in previous games has never been a popular choice for qualifying if you're smart. So, yeah, I think Hughes will take a lot of confidence in that. It's gonna be. I'm going to be interested to hear the views of the top three, to see what they thought of that particular race. I think they're gradually making their way over to the interview area. So I think we'll try and get to talk to them. But yeah, looking at the race overall, I think Casper, I have to give him a lot of credit. He nearly made that strategy work, going really further along on the softs. But yeah, unfortunately, just caught out at the end. I think he was probably hoping it would have taken the soft runners a little bit longer to get through the medium runners behind him, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that. So let's head over then to the waiting room for the drivers ready and waiting for their interviews. I will hand you over to Mark.
Well, welcome to the post-race interview for the PSGL F1 Austrian Grand Prix. What was a thrilling race at the Red Bull Ring, which was won, and not for the first time this season. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 wins now for the Dutchman and championship leader VSR Juice. 4 wins now for the season. That was not easy though. That seemed to be an intense race from start to finish.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult, but I think Jordan can remove his penalty, so I think I don't have to win, but we have to see. And but really happy with the result, and I think I got pushed off before the pit stop, so I lost. I did go from 1 to 4th, so yeah, that was not that good. But and then I had to go 1 lap longer on the mediums because otherwise I will get held up by the Mercedes of Duncan. So that wasn't really good for me. But I think soft run was pretty good and keep it out of the warnings and the penalties.
Now, given the characteristics of this track, were you expecting to do so much battling in the opening stint? Because usually it's just a big static DRS train until everyone's made their pit stops.
Yeah, I had a really good start. I started P7 and after I think 4 laps I was in P2. So I was pretty happy with that because overtaking is not that difficult, but pretty tricky with damage because you're overtaking a pretty slow corner. So if you brake a little bit too late, you get wing damage from the car in front of you. So, yeah.
Well, regardless of what happens in the stewards, you will be in the lead of the championship. So halfway stage of the season, how do you assess your campaign so far? What would you say was the best and worst moment of your season so far?
I think Zandvoort, because the pace was really good, and that time I won it from Duncan, and the previous race I lost it from Duncan, so I was pretty happy with that. And the Dutch Grand Prix, I really like to drive there. So.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on your provisional victory, and all the best for China next week.
Thank you.
And now we're joined by the driver racing for AlphaTauri and currently second in the championship and second on track today provisionally, the 2-time PSGL F1 champion and looking for a 3rd crown, Blizzard. Well, I've spoken to you many times in the past, in seasons gone by, and that was a pretty crazy race for Austria. And what were your thoughts as you crossed the line in P2, having taken the race victory on track?
Well, my pace was good, but I just messed it up with a penalty. Got like 2 warnings in 2 laps, so yeah, just threw it away. Had like first half of the race 0 warnings, and then just picked up 2 straight away, and then picked up 1 middle of the Softon, I think. And yeah, that just cost me the win at the end, especially with the safety car.
So do you think there's no real look at removing any of those penalties? Do you think that they're all legitimate warnings?
Well, I think the second one I got was actually very harsh, and I was considering trying to get it removed, but I got 2 more warnings after anyway, so couldn't get removed even if I wanted to.
So with that being said, if that sticks, that will be a slight loss in the championship, but you should be relatively satisfied with your campaign so far to reach the halfway season. But going into the second half of the campaign, starting at China next week, what sort of lessons can you take from the first 7 races, which will sort of hopefully, in your view, get yourself back into the title fight closer to Hughes, who's at the moment going to have a 16-point advantage over you?
There's 2 things I would probably say is that I have to concentrate on quali more. Really, my Zandvoort qualifying and my Italy qualifying really dented my championship. And then also the penalties, that's always been a problem for me ever since I changed to wheel. So if I can get those in check, I think I have a good chance. But and I think I've actually quite had good qualies recently, but the penalties, I mean, literally just cost me a win. So if I can get that gone, and hopefully I can challenge Juiced again.
Well, plenty of rounds to go, and I wish you all the best starting in China this week. And congratulations on your podium today.
Thank you.
And now joining us, representing McLaren, the driver finished in P3 and celebrating a full-time seat now in PSGL F1, and well deserved, I must say, having taken the victory in Belgium. It's P3 for you today, Joost. Jordan, I should say. And you must be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, especially I wasn't really comfortable in the rain. I was like, oh God, this is going to be very bad. But yeah, I felt quite comfortable, to be honest. I did some rain practice, but yeah, it was little. Yeah, then race pace was also very good. In the front, it wasn't very comfortable because you always have the guys in third and fourth pushing, trying a double overtake, which is really possible at this track. Slipstream and DRS are overpowered. And but yeah, it was a bit of a hard racing in the front, but I think that's all fair. Then I got pushed off by one of the Ferrari, but which gave me my last warning. So I think that is definitely removable because it's just simply unfair. And yeah, soft stint was also very good. I followed Blizzard into the pits, hoping that I didn't get as much as an undercut from Midnight and Danerco, but yeah, they still got it. And then yeah, Blizzard just destroyed me at the restart. It was so sketchy because I didn't want to touch him, but he was going very slow. But yeah, fair play.
Well, you alluded to a warning, so I assume you're going to try and report that to get removed. And if you do, that would mean you would win the race if you get that reversed.
Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, fingers crossed for it.
Well, I wish you luck in the stewards. Well, halfway of the season, you've earned a full-time seat. So I guess in some ways that was your aim. We talked about that the last time you were on the podium back at Belgium after your superb victory there. So the fact that you've now gained a full-time seat again in the top tier PSGL F1 should give you, a big boost as you head into the second half of the campaign.
Well, even when I was a reserve, I was quite comfortable of my pace. I knew that just if I stand like in the top 5, I always have a chance of winning because my race pace is always very, very, very fast. But yeah, I just need to work on quali. That's the main focus for the second half of the season.
Well, I mean, your quality wasn't too bad today with McLaren looking out the front row,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know what you mean. Consistency in qualifying, that's something I always struggled with about at a much lower level than you, of course. But yeah, we go to China next, and that should be a pretty strong round, hopefully for you as well. So congratulations on your podium and potentially a race win after the stewards inquiry. So thanks for joining us, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you for the stream and commentary.
Yeah, thanks to Jordan for joining us there, and obviously Blizzard and Yost as well. Jordan there sounding pretty confident that he can get that penalty removed, of course, which would mean that Blizzard wouldn't be 16 points behind in the championship at the moment. That gap would then go down ever so slightly to just 14. So maybe even Blizzard in the back of his mind wouldn't mind too much if he dropped a position, if it means Yost drops a position as well.
Yes, exactly. That could make a difference. I mean, there were definitely some moves in that race, particularly at turn 4, where drivers weren't giving much space, forcing them off almost onto the grass and the gravel on the left of turn 4. So I think there will be a few incidents put into the stewards. But Blizzard sounded quite downbeat about his sort of steward, so I don't think we'll see anything from him based on that. And Hughes, of course, got no penalties, but there were a few moves early on in the race where he really launched it. I mean, Hughes is, of course, a very competent racer, but he's usually quite sort of reserved in terms of going for the moves. But he was very aggressive today. I think he wanted to gain those places on the opening laps as quickly as possible. So it will remain to be seen whether those were deemed to be fair or not. But there were certainly some borderline moves out there from some drivers. But of course, it is not up to us. It's merely opinions from yourself and I. But yeah, I mean, what a season we've had. Halfway of the season, Luke. Every race has been entertaining as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not saying that bias. I generally think that's been the case. We've seen so many different drivers on the podium. Use, of course, has got 4 wins, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, if you look at that on the face of it, okay, you must be dominating championship. But no, none of the races have been won by like a huge amount. There's not been a race where someone's won by like 10, 15 seconds. All of them have been decided usually by no more than a second or two, as again was the case today.
Yeah, I think the furthest victory, I seem to remember in France, Yost had a pretty good job there when he took the victory, but that was a wet end to the race, so different things can always happen. Yeah, I agree with what you said. He seemed more aggressive today. To be fair, Blizzard, quite a few times, he wasn't afraid of making it 3 wide as well. I think they're in a championship battle, but they realise how early on it is still in the championship and how good some of their other drivers are that we perhaps haven't thought about of taking the championship. They can't afford to sit back. You've got to try and take the points while you've got the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, the margins are just so small in this tier. And, we talked about it last time out that at the start of the season, there was a clear group of drivers that had a big pace advantage. But now there's 10, maybe 12 drivers every week who can potentially win a race. It's really closed up. So the little mistakes are getting magnified more. As we saw today, Blizzard got 3-second time penalty. In most tiers, that's not going to cost you too much because lower tiers tend to be more spread out in terms of quality. But in the top tier, like this, and F2 as well, the top 10 are going to be so close. A single time penalty is going to drop you from a potential win, sometimes off the podium. So Blizzard did well, I think, with that restart to actually still be on the podium afterwards. It was a mighty restart. No one behind him had an answer for it, and he was able to eke out enough of a gap to negate that 3-second time penalty. But nonetheless, he'll still be frustrated to have got into that position and not been able to convert it because of that time penalty.
Yeah, certainly. I think he admitted it himself. It's not the first time we've seen him pick up that penalties. He'll be hoping that things go a bit better next time around. We are pretty much just over the halfway point, I believe, now of the season. Next time around, it is going to be the Chinese Grand Prix. As you said yourself, Mark, not a circuit that is universally loved by a lot of the drivers, so make sure to check that one out next week on the PlayStation. Of course, there will be the man you all want to see, Jarno Ottmeyer, on Thursday on the PC. Whether him and Danny Moreno are actually talking after what happened last week, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully for the sake of Jarno's streams, he's managed to get himself a new headset as well. PC top tier action on Thursday at 7 p.m. with George Morgan and Daniel Field. Of course, there's the lower tiers on a Wednesday from the PC, lower tiers from PlayStation on the Thursday, the Sunday, and the Monday, and round number 2 of the PSGL and VRT Esports Cup, of course. Round number 2 of that with James Head and Aidan Coulter from the French Grand Prix, where CRG and VSR are tied at the top of the standings at the moment, and Yoast and Blizzard might get a chance to reignite their battle once more. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thanks for the drivers for joining us for the commentary box interviews as well. Thanks to Mark for conducting those and joining us for the stream as well. We will see you all in a week's time for the Chinese Grand Prix. And from myself and Mark, have a very good evening and good night.